Hello, Andy the 60-Minute Gamer here. Gonna dive back into video games this week since the last 2 weeks were on pinball arcades. Thank you for all the views, likes, and subscribes during the last 2 weeks of videos. I really appreciate the patience during the break from video game content. This last summer I had some relatives from Arizona stop by for a visit, and we hit up some retro gaming goodness in Minnesota during their visit. At one point in time, I broke out the NES to show the young visitor what light gun gaming was like on that console back in the day. I had picked up a CRT a few years back to replace my 27-inch CRT that finally died on me. That one is so much easier to get out of the utility room, move around, and get to somewhere where we can play. First few games we put in the NES was great. We had no problems. But it didn't stay that way. Pretty soon, I had noticed that the carts were loose, and soon they just stopped recognizing them. I knew that I needed to open that bad boy up and either bend some pins back to make sure they're tight, or just replace the pins. I chose the latter. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it the right way. I found some NES pins on Amazon for under $15, and 2 days later, they were at the house. What I should have done was replace them right away and be done with it. But just as my game backlog grows, I threw it in the project tote with the RGB N64 chips, the IPS screens, the Nintendo 3DS XL shells, amongst the other crap in this box as well. Now it's been 6 months, and I'm finally going to replace those pins in this console. I know that there have been other videos out there on this process, but I just wanted to show you firsthand that even the 60-minute gamer or any hobbyist with a limited amount of time could get this done. My NES console was bought used a few years back and is now starting to get a little bit discolored, even though I store this in a plastic bin in a dark room. I bought it in pretty good condition, and the tamper sticker was still on the back. 40 years later, this sucker has never been opened up. Guess I'm going to avoid the warranty during this process. And I surely did. I got this sucker open, and you need a little bit deeper Phillips head screwdriver to get these screws out, and 40 years these have not been budged one iota. So took a little muscle power to start them to go, but take your time, go slow. You can see I'm not going slow. I'm going about 20 times the video playback speed, but I figured you guys did not want to sit here and watch me struggle with all these stinking screws. You never know what you're going to find in an old console. When you open them up to repair them or to replace capacitors, there could be some pretty crispy critters found inside. And that metal shield had 5 screws that I removed. Now I'm pulling 6 more screws out of the cartridge tray, and I'm going to pull that cartridge tray towards myself to get at the pins. Just remember that when putting it back together, you're going to have to slide it towards the pins itself. The pins were a little tight to get off. I kind of had to pry with my thumbs a little bit to get it back in there. And here we go. We're going to put that back in and reapply all the screws. And the 72 pin connector that I got for the NES off of Amazon included a game bit screwdriver. So it was like a game bit driver, I guess what they call them. And it's always good to have one of those, because after I put this thing together, I am going to clean some cartridges to test it. I am not going to put a dirty cartridge back into this NES. And it's always good to have another throwaway game bit driver, you know, when you go to these conventions, because you never know if you're going to get a bad cartridge, and if you want to look, you're going to spend $10 or $12 on it. You're not going to look. But if you're spending $500 or $1,200 on an old NES cartridge, I guarantee you want to open that sucker up if you have any doubts to make sure that it is legit. Now I'm just bending over there and getting all my flipping supplies on the ground because I didn't have them ready for you guys. So what I'm using is an isopropyl alcohol and some Bright Boy. It is a metal polish. It's non-abrasive, and I have 1-Up card and some Q-tips. And these 1-Up cards can be actually used without opening up the cartridge. You have a wet side and a dry side. You put the fluid on the wet side and you use the dry side to wipe the fluid off. And it's a really good, easy way to get a quick clean on a cartridge so you can get back to gaming. But I'm going to take apart this cartridge so I can get to the PCB. I would actually see the pins in their entirety and see how grimy they are. I just bought some cartridges at a game store and they look clean, they appeared clean, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. When I got done cleaning it, the Q-tips don't lie. And usually I'll give the isopropyl alcohol a quick swipe over all those pins right away, and I'm going to put the 1-up card on the fluid side, and I'm going to give it a good rub down and clean off all the fluid from it. And then I'm going to go over it with some Bright Boy. I'm just going to put a few dabs on one side, let it sit, and then I'm going to rub it in. And after I get done with the Bright Boy, I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol and clean that all up, get all the residue from the Bright Boy off of that cartridge so there's nothing remaining, and that isopropyl alcohol will evaporate. And you're probably saying right now, but Andy, on the back of the cartridge it says do not use alcohol. I'm telling you, this stuff works. Gotta be better than blowing spit in the cartridge. I shot all this overhead footage with my GoPro 8 and I had a little incident with it. It got red hot, and as I pulled the battery out, the whole cover fell apart. I couldn't get the stinking thing out. It was flipping hot and on fire on the sides. So had a little incident with the GoPro, but that's okay. I went out and upgraded to the new 13. Now it's time to actually fire this up in the utility room and see if this thing does work and if it reads the cartridge, if I can get it in there.
Tight.
Yeah, it is tight.
Okay,
it was tight.
Moment of truth.
So here we go. And holy buckets.
Holy shit, that booted up quick.
Well, oops on that. $1 to the swear jar. Yeah, this was great. I did this right after work. I wasn't even out of my work clothes. I just went down to the office and started taking this thing apart. You can do this within several minutes. Not a hard job. And I just want to touch base on cleaning these cartridges again. It has nothing to do with the pins getting replaced. They were just loose over time. But if you buy cartridges at a convention, you want to make sure you clean them because you don't want to damage or dirty your pins in your machine. And games are available out there. You can find games from anywhere from $5 up to $1,600 for the NES. And there are other consoles out there that you can get retro games for. And the older consoles, you'll have to upscale to get to play on your HD TV. So there are devices like the Hyperkin devices, the Retron HDs, that will actually play the games right through your HDMI port without any needs for upscaling, which means you're going to save some money. And if you save money, you'll have enough money to buy the Super EverDrive from Crits. And this is a great device that allows you to play ROMs. So there you have it. That's how you change your NES pins. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe. It helps me out, it helps grow the channel out. I appreciate each and every one of you. And you guys just remember, game on.